Hello, this is Nicole Kali, host of Haunted Mid-Atlantic Tales, episode 12, and this is Women's History Month. I have a special Black Rock Her Roundtable coming up with Guitar Gabby, Militia Vox, and Meredith Bell from Palace Burn. All amazing Black rockin' women and a testament to how badass we are and continue to be. This will be centered around various lore from the Mid-Atlantic region, DC, Virginia, New Jersey, Delaware, with a focal point, especially on letting go and the omens that come with the afterlife of death and the supernatural. What does it mean to make history, and how do we leave our imprint on the world? These have always been themes that fascinate me and humanity for as long as we've been here. How do we leave the residual energy that creates hauntings? And how exactly do we convene with the other side? Who has the gift? And who has the power to see? Traditionally, it has been women. And I implore you to look to the history of how women have been prophesiers and more. The Ghost of Virginia, Chapter 28, A Treasury of Shenandoah Lore, by L.B. Taylor Jr. Author's note: while browsing through the Library of Virginia's online resources one evening, I came across an item called Horse Feathers. It was about stories about Lebanon Church, Virginia. Scrolling down, I read a collection of anecdotes that concerned blacksmiths, cars, churches, the Civil War, courtship, farms, Halloween, home remedies, mills, moonshining, schools, stores, undertakers, the weather, and ghost. A sign of death. Mary Lindemood, a delightful lady of 86 when she told these tales in the 1980s, said, "Yes, I believe in ghosts. They all laugh at me and say there ain't no such thing, but I say that there is. And I've seen it already. We are sitting up with Mr. Cy Feely. This was a custom in the Shenandoah of sitting up with the dead in the days when the body was laid out at home. And we heard a horse walking up and down the road. Finally, we saw a big white horse, a specter. No one around here had one. There was no one with them, the horse, and as soon as we saw them, they disappeared. The next day we looked in the dirt, and there were no hoof prints at all." Chapter 68, Southwest Virginia Vignettes, a scream of indescribable horror. Author's note: this harrowing incident, excerpted here, was told on the internet by a young man called Rob. I live in a house in the top of a mountain deep in the woods of Southwest Virginia and the Southern Appalachians. I work in a drug rehab center, mostly evenings and night shifts. I have a ritual to unwind after work. I go into my backyard and listen to my portable CD player and walk around and chain smoke. One night in the fall, when the frost was on the ground and there was a quarter moon, I had been walking around for about an hour by then, when a rush of panic flooded over me. The only movement I could make was to use my thumb to pause the CD player. I stood there silently for a few minutes, darting my eyes around, looking for anything that would show the root of my fear, but I could not find anything, not with my eyes. Nothing was out of place, so I had begun to break free of my fear and made my way back to the house when I looked up and saw my two dogs, two little beagles. They'll bark at anything that crosses into eyesight. The weird thing was, they weren't barking. They were afraid. They were slinking their way to the front of the house as if they were scolded. This scared me. There was something out there that I could sense that the dogs could smell and see, but I couldn't. And I stood watching, waiting, and listening. I started making my way to the house, slowly, when the absolute, most cruelest and satanic scream came from the woods about 100 yards away. The sound was indescribable. It sounded neither human or animal. Ethereal. It was coming from a faceless entity. My fear was unbelievable. I've been scared before from falling from high places and from car wrecks, but this was a whole other kind of fear. I could have given an injection with one of the hairs on my arms. The scream stopped, and I broke off running to the house. As I made my way to the front door, it screamed once more, almost as if to say, "I see you." I went into the house and laid on the floor, still, quiet. I was afraid the screaming thing might hear me, and make a move. After that night, I didn't go outside for a while. Chapter 89, a portfolio of psychic poetry. Author's note. The following poetic selections, excerpted from the century-and-a-half-old pages of the Southern Literary Messenger, edited and published in Richmond, can only be described as, well, strange. They tend to suggest that Virginians in that day had a kind of morbid fascination with the dead and the spirits. Not much has changed, huh? The works also hint that there is still a fairly strong belief in superstition, many of which have been carried to the colony from the old countries in Europe, 200 years earlier, intermixed with the Native American from ancient times. And they were not limited to the ill-educated. They crossed cultural lines. As an example, the following piece, printed in June 1846, signed only by an Alba, describes the fear of the supernatural as expressed on a prosperous Virginia mansion. Spirits of the past. Author's note. The author of this poem, whether imagined or for real, believed the ghosts of past loved ones communicated with them. This was published in the March 1851 issue of The Messenger, and signed by a Fanny Fielding, who said she was from a county in Virginia that has never been identified. Oft they're flitting round me, the spirits of the past. They at a word, a look, a tone, come thronging thick and fast. A long-forgotten melody, a breath upon the chain, that binds me to their shadowy forms, will bring them back again. They come upon the evening, when the first streaks of dawn steal faintly over the woodlands and the flower-enameled lawns, and as I lie half dreaming, they whisper in my ear. The wild bee and the lark are up, why lie you sleeping here? I dream again, and round me sweet forms, the sweet faces come, and through the glen and wildwood with them, I seem to always roam. And sounds of childish laughter ring out upon mine ear. Sweet spirits of the shadowy past, it is your voice that I hear. They whisper of dreams that haunted me as I lie sleeping there. Angelic beings with golden wings that fan the fragrant air. O gentle spirits of the past, breathe me that song again. They come upon me in the twilight zone and the music's mournful strain. The loved, the beautiful, the dead, peopling the earth and the air, and I, a shadow, myself, walking, seem floating with them there. They come upon the moonlight and whisper to me in dreams of the ghostly marble urns whereupon moonlight gleams, of willow branches bending over a grassy bed, of the dark night dew descending upon your loved one's head. Again the vision changes and the happy faces come around my bed like those that cheered my childish, sunnish home. The same, still yet more heavenly, and they sing sweet songs of rest, until I seem to fall asleep upon my mother's breast. Oft they're around me, the spirits of the past. At morning, twilight, dawn, their mystic spells are cast amid my saddened spirit, till it doth strangely long to sigh its very self away, and become the spirit's throng. Ooh, that's a good one. So in becoming one with the spirits, she understands who they are. That's really cool. Chapter 106, Historic Haunts from the Past. The Haunted Rock. Recorded by Emory Hamilton on December 16th, 1937. The location is between Wise and Esserville in Wise County, Virginia. This haunted rock is a large, flat sand rock stone that borders the highway, Route 23. No one knows how the place became haunted, or who saw the ghost first, but the tales run back to and before the war between the states, the Revolutionary War. Many are the noises that have been heard here, and the eerie specters that have been seen, everything from large dogs to people with hideous and contorted visages, have stalked the paths of people walking here. Some people claim that during the war between the states, a young man passing with a team was ambushed here by a band of unknown men. Since then, the place has had ghosts. This story, however, is just handed down, and no trace can be ascertained as to the soldier. However, the ghosts are still there, and some say, if you have the misfortune to encounter them, you'll never forget.
Like you can see the arms, and you can see the bottom. When I saw this, I was so startled that I couldn't believe that this was happening to me. This ghostly mist walking slow into the bathroom area. Right through the wall in the bathroom and disappeared. What the hell is this?
I heard the voice. Go home. Just go home. And
Come on, guys. I gotta go. See, where you going? She's trying. Sleep. Why you bitching? Come on, man.
I just left.
Hey.
And come to find out that after I left, the cops came and rounded up all my friends. I'm not sure what the charge was, but it was a voice that kept me out of trouble.
I think Washington, D.C. is still the nation's most haunted city. I mean, you look at the Capitol, the White House. It's a who's who of ghosts.
Kirk Dreyer is not willing to rule out the possibility.
I, for one, would not want to spend a night in here because Captain John Oldham was not a very pleasant individual. I wouldn't doubt that there could be some strange things that go bump in the night here.
Haunted Places, a National Directory, Delaware. Luz. The Cannonball House. This house is named for a cannonball embedded in the front wall. It commemorates April 6, 1813, when the building was hit with cannon fire from a British frigate in the War of 1812. Part of the house dates back to 1743, and a new addition was built in 1790. The place is thought to be haunted by ghosts of whoever unfortunately perished during that hit. District of Columbia, D.C. The Oak Hill Cemetery. John Peter Van Ness, Van Ness, built the beautiful Van Ness Mausoleum for his wife Anne, who died in childbirth in 1822. He spent half as much on the mausoleum as he spent for the entire mansion in D.C. John joined his wife in 1846, 24 years later, and his 6 cherished white horses pulled his funeral carriage through the streets of Washington. The horses' phantoms are sometimes reported circling the mausoleum, and once, a driver on the nearby Rock Creek Parkway was forced off the road by the misty outlines of those same horses. The mausoleum sits on the top of the highest hill in the cemetery that overlooks Rock Creek, and it's off Rock Creek Parkway at 30th Street and R Street Northwest. New Jersey, Dennisville. The Henry Ludlam Inn. Henry Ludlam built this house in the late 1700s. This building is haunted by his descendants, Jonathan and Rachel Ludlam. The unexplained events include the sound of shattering glass, although there is none to be seen. Jonathan was known to be a cavalier gentleman, whom some say made his living as a pirate on the Delaware Bay. Dennisville is on Highway 47 in Gloucester County, South New Jersey. The Henry Ludlam Inn is actually just south of Dennisville on Highway 47. Elizabeth and the Union County Courthouse. The confused apparition of Anna Caldwell has been seen in this old courthouse when she was unfortunately hit by a stray musket ball during the Revolutionary War. The town of Elizabeth is actually just south of Newark on I-95, and the courthouse is off U.S. Highway 109. Morristown, Pyramid Park Historical Area. Psychics believe that this park is the source of the most powerful earth energy in New Jersey. A glacial feature known as the Tripod Rock is said to focus the invisible energy there. The 160-ton boulder is supported 2.5 feet from the ground by 3 smaller rocks. Some evidence suggests that the site was used by the ancient people, the indigenous as well, to determine the summer solstice. Pyramid Mountain is 5 miles north of the intersection of I-80 and I-287. New York. Rye. The Cedars. This Victorian house was built in 1860 by Jared Peck. The many unusual phenomena reported here since the turn of the century have included the movement of heavy objects, noises like chains rattling, and doors slamming shut. Once a sharp knife flew across the kitchen floor and a heavy ashtray levitated softly to the floor of the upstairs bedroom. Whoa. One of the ghosts was thought to be of the former family member, who was kept locked in a small bedroom on the 3rd floor. How shameful. The other is the spirit of a woman who actually passed away by natural causes in the house. The later ghost mysteriously appeared on a frame of film made for a TV program, who was also materialized during a modeling session for an artist. Rye is east of Yonkers in Westchester County. The town is located off of New England Thruway, I-95, on the Connecticut border. It's a private residence on Barbary Lane. North Carolina. Kalohi. Judah-Kalarak. This sacred site is a complete mystery to the modern white archaeologist, but the indigenous Native American tribes who live around here likely know the origin of the hieroglyphic symbols on the 14-foot wide soapstone boulder. The strange symbols include 7-fingered hands, human figures, and the geometric shapes, whom the Cherokee say were created by the one-eyed giant called Judah-Kalak. And the symbols codified the laws of hunting, respect for the balance of nature, the supernatural, and convening through magic. The town of Kalohi is just south of Asheville in Jackson County. If you follow Highway 107 south of Kalohi for 3.5 miles to Caney Fork Road, then you go east for 3 miles to the site. Wilmington, Chamber of Commerce. Wilmington's official welcome center is home to a ghost who was once photographed descending a staircase in the building. Iconic. Known officially as the Price Gauss House, the place has been considered haunted ever since it was built in 1843. Immediately after moving in, the Gauss family heard strange footsteps on the stairs and traced an eerie tapping sound that moved along the walls. They finally decided to live with the unidentified presence. Later residents came to the same conclusion. An investigation in October 1967, 124 years after the initial hauntings, documented several mysterious sounds and yielded the startling photo of a misty human form descending elegantly down the stairs. Wilmington is on the extreme southern tip of North Carolina, at the south end of I-40. Pennsylvania, Bartonsville. The International Eatery. An unidentified presence, dubbed Veronica by the owners, haunts this small little restaurant. Her appearance coincided with the purchase of an old wooden writing desk, which now sits in the lobby. Her wispy white apparition has been seen several times floating from the kitchen, past the walk-in refrigerator, to the wooden desk. Bartonsville is in eastern PA, on Pike County, off of I-84. Gettysburg College. The ghosts of Civil War sentries have been seen by students and faculty in the Pennsylvania Hall. The apparitions have been seen in the cupola and hovering over the roof, too. 2 administrators who were working late at night took the elevator to the 1st floor, but the elevator bypassed the 1st floor and went directly to the basement. And when the doors opened, they saw a makeshift hospital, a haunting, full of wounded Civil War soldiers. In one corner was a grotesque pile, and a bloody surgeon approached them as if to ask for help, so they frantically began to push the elevator buttons, and the doors closed just in time. Apparitions of children have been seen on the 3rd floor of Stevens Hall, and a thin girl looks at herself in mirrors. A phantom blue boy has been seen by many witnesses over the years. This building was used as a college prep school for children from 1911 to 1935, so that explains a lot. Brewer Hall, the college's theater building, is haunted by a ghost called the General. The elderly Civil War officer, a Union soldier, has been seen in a phantom chair at center stage or peeking out an eastern window at Gettysburg College, Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Virginia, Essex County, St. Margaret's Girls' School. For generations, students here have told stories of encountering the Blue Lady who walks the halls of St. Margaret's. The apparition is thought to be the spirit of a deceased nun. The private school is in Essex County, near Tappahannock. Haunted Virginia. Chapter 35, Civil War Myths and Legends. The Noisy Verena Ghost. The Verena Battlefield Cemetery has a very strange ghost that lurks around the graves. He watches over the graveyard. There's a water fountain in the yard, and the rumor is if you drink from it, they'll make noises and sometimes even throw things at you. Wow, a very confrontational ghost. Believed to be a soldier. Not sure from what army. Chapter 48, Bizarre True Tales of Virginia. The house made of bottles. Somewhere in the southern part of Virginia, there's a house made up of all things, bottles. In 1941, the pharmacist John Doc Hope commissioned the builder to build for his daughter a playhouse made of pop bottles. The glass containers that had contained pop and then castor oil were used in the construction of this place. But unlike most children's playhouses, this one stretched from 15 to 20 feet. Nicknamed the House of 1,000 Headaches due to the wine bottles used in its construction. It is said that unlike other houses made of bottles in the world, this one had all of its bottles arranged backwards, so the inner walls were green.